Hello everyone, FPL Wrapped here and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. In today's video we have the ultimate guide on how to navigate the end of the season. We're going to discuss things such as when are the upcoming blanks and doubles, which are the teams to target and which are the players to target, when should we play our remaining chips. We're going to discuss Game Week 33, is it still a good opportunity to free hit, and we're also going to have a bit of a chat around the psychology that we can utilise to have the best possible finish to this season. If you're enjoying the content here on this channel, please do make sure to like, comment and subscribe, but without further ado, let's jump into today's video. So guys, before we jump into today's video, I just want to give a massive shout out to Ultimate Champions who will be sponsoring the video today. As I've said for a while now, Ultimate Champions looks like it'll be one of the best up-and-coming fantasy football games. It essentially combines fantasy football with like trading cards and also a bit of FIFA as well. You've got pack openings, you've got the ability to build up the best team, and when that team does well in real life, you get better rewards, better XP, better packs, and you can build up the best possible team. You can then trade those cards on the market. They're basically like NFTs or non-fungible tokens. You can trade them on the market, sell them with friends, and earn some actual real-life cash. So I'm really excited about this game. I have been testing out the alpha. It's incredibly slick for an alpha, right? It looks like an incredible game. The beta will be coming out very, very soon, hopefully sort of April, May time, which would be absolutely brilliant. That means that everyone can jump on and play, and I'm just super excited for this. So what you can do for now, before the game is officially launched, is I'm going to leave two links down below. The first link I will leave is to their Discord community server. They've always got cool quizzes over there where you can earn different packs, earn better players in the game, and better rewards once the game does go live. And I'll also leave a link to their Twitter account as well. So if you want to get involved in this super cool project, this cool game that's upcoming, but also want to support the channel for free, you can do both of those things by clicking the link in the description, join their Discord community server, also follow them on Twitter as well, and in doing so you can, in two birds with one stone, get in a cool game, and also you're going to be supporting the channel as well. But without further ado, let's jump into today's video. So if this is the ultimate end of season guide, it makes complete sense to start with, well, what on earth does the end of the season look like? I've just created a timeline graphic for you with each game week explaining, is it a blank? Is it a double? What would I be personally doing in this game week? And hopefully this will give you a better idea about what to expect. With respect to actually playing your chips, the next section will be focused on when I think the optimal time to play your remaining chips. So starting with the game week immediately in front of us, it is a small double game week between Everton and Burnley. So they are the only two teams that are doubling. I also just don't think that this is a particularly useful week to play any of your chips. It doesn't look great for bench boost, at least for my team and for most teams that I've seen. I don't think there are any standout triple captaincies because I wouldn't want to triple captain Everton and Burnley, and I would rather triple captain a double game week player. And I don't necessarily think it's the best time to wildcard because assuming you've been playing FPL over the recent weeks, a lot of the teams that had good fixtures from 26 to game week 30 have also got decent fixtures in 31. And therefore, I think most of us, assuming you've got like Arsenal, Tottenham, Wolves players, I think you probably have a decent team for game week 31. So for me, I just don't think this is a week to be playing any chips, but I do think you can start to use your free transfers and plan for future weeks, depending on whatever your chip strategy is. Game week 32 is almost definitely going to be a normal game week. There's a very small chance that we get a double game week fixture put in here, but it looks like game week 32 will be just a normal game week. And therefore, in this week, you should be using your free transfers, again, depending on your chip strategy. So if you're free hitting in 33, you use your free transfers to set up from 34 onwards, right? Because you don't need to worry about 33. If you're not free hitting in 33, it makes sense to either roll a transfer this week so that you've got a second free transfer in 33, or you can start just loading up on players that double in 33. So you might want to start bringing in Leicester players, etc. We will discuss teams to target later on in the video. So 32, normal game week, just use your free transfers. Game week 33 is the only blank and double, confirmed blank and double for the remainder of the season. Game week 37 could potentially be, but game week 33, as a result, does look like it's a decent opportunity to free hit. Again, we're going to discuss game week 33 in a lot of detail later, but because it is a blank and double, 3 teams blanking, 7 teams doubling, it's a good opportunity to take out those players that are blanking from Wolves, Leeds, and Aston Villa, load up on the teams that are doubling, and a lot of those teams we might not necessarily have players from. So I would say that game week 33 is probably the second best opportunity to free hit and probably either the best or second best opportunity to triple captain. You could potentially bench boost if your team looks well set up, but due to the fact that a few teams are blanking and also a few teams have sort of difficult single game week fixtures, I think it's probably not the best time to bench boost for me. So game week 33 looks like a big one. That is definitely the most immediate game week that I think you need to plan for. If you have 2 free hits left, definitely I'd be free hitting this week. Otherwise, you might have a bit of a decision to make as when you want to play that last free hit. Game week 34, immediately after that blank and double, I personally think this is the best remaining time to wildcard. Again, we're going to discuss this in a bit more detail in the next section. But for me, the fact that you're coming out of a blank and double, a lot of the teams had reasonable fixture swings in game week 34 as well. And you can set up for potentially a bench boost in game week 36. And even if you're not bench boosting, you can still set up your team really nicely for game week 36 and 37. So for me, 34 remains the best time to wildcard. You could potentially wildcard in game week 35. The reason that I say you might want to do that is it's directly before game week 36, so you've got even more chance of setting up the perfect bench boost or setting up an even better team for 36. And also, there is a very small chance that there's a double game week added. Everton and Watford are two of the teams that are potentially looking at, maybe Burnley as well. So there are a few teams that might potentially have double game weeks in 35. It would be similar to sort of the double game week in game week 31. So it might be that you either want to play a chip in 35, but I think the most likely chip that might make sense is if you don't wildcard in 34, you could delay it one more week and wildcard in 35. The only reason that I'm not necessarily sure on that is you're losing another week of where the wildcard could potentially be beneficial to you. And also, like I said, there are a few sort of fixture swings in 34. For example, I'm not going to own any Manchester City players, and I want to get on them as soon as possible. 34 looks like a good week to do so. So for me, I still prefer 34 slightly, but 35 could be a small double game week, another good wildcard opportunity. 36, outside of 33, is the other big game week that you need to prepare for. This is the biggest remaining double game week of the season. We're likely to have either 9 or 10 teams doubling. Could be as few as 8, could be as many as 11, but likely 9 or 10 teams doubling. I think this is both the best opportunity to free hit and the best opportunity to bench boost, but it is just something you need to bear in mind. We do have a general idea of which teams will be doubling and what their fixtures will look like because we've only got so many remaining game weeks. So we've got a very good idea of what this will look like, but we don't know exactly because some of those fixtures could be put in 35 or 37 potentially. Moving on to 37, I do think there's a few sort of misconceptions. I'm just going to turn my chair a little bit so you can read that. I do think there are a few sort of misconceptions about game week 37. It's not likely to be a very big double game week, right? I think most probably we're looking at 3 teams doubling, maybe 1 team blanking. It could be as many as 4 teams or 5 teams doubling. Could be as few as 2 teams doubling. I'd estimate probably 3 teams doubling. The teams that look most likely are Chelsea, Leicester and Everton. Again, Burnley could be put in there. Watford are another team that could potentially have a double in 37. So there are a few good teams and there could be some good fixtures in there. Chelsea in particular, they could have a very nice double. But I don't necessarily think that it's that much better than 33, and I don't even think the fixtures will necessarily be that much better. So it is something to bear in mind. It is almost definitely going to be a small double. We haven't had that confirmed, but outside of 36 and 33, 37 looks the most likely to have some double game weeks put into. So definitely keep it in mind, but I don't think it's going to be as exciting as some people think at first glance anyway. And then game week 38, I've called this last chance saloon. There's no doubles in game week 38. All of the teams are going to be playing at exactly the same time. It's always very fun to save a remaining chip for if you're interested in increasing your enjoyment. I don't necessarily think it's the wisest use of your free hit or your bench boost or your triple captaincy. There's often a little bit of rotation. A lot of young players come in and play a game if the teams that you're picking players from have nothing to play for. But if there are teams for something to play for, you're pretty sure that they're going to put out their best starting 11. So it can be very fun to use a chip or to do something exciting in game week 38. But as far as we're concerned, nothing particularly exciting about it with respect to sort of blanks and doubles. So realistically, what we're looking at here is game week 33, game week 36, and game week 37 are the 3 game weeks to look out for. 33 and 36, in my opinion, are the 2 biggest, and then 37 could be quite interesting, depending which teams still have fixtures left to play for. We're now going to take a look at when I think is the optimal time to play each of your remaining chips, in my personal opinion. So I did start to allude to this in the previous section, but these are, in my opinion, the best time to use your remaining chips. I've basically got my Raptor rankings, right? So I've got the first, second, and third best time, in my opinion, to use the chips. Obviously, the color scheme here is gold, silver, and bronze. We're going to go through each sort of chip and explain why I think that is the best time to use that chip. As you can see at first glance, some of these chips, I think the best time to use it is in the same game week. And as a result, you have to decide if you've got multiple of these chips left, what is the best combination? Because you're going to have to sacrifice probably playing one of them in the ideal week. What's the best combination you can get from those chips? So starting with the wild card, I do think that personally still, the ideal game week to play the wildcard is probably 34, but I do also think 35 is going to be pretty decent as well, and I haven't 100% decided between the two. Of course, the reason for playing it in 34/35 is to set up for a bench boost in 36 for me. I think if you haven't got the bench boost in 36, maybe you want to play it a little bit earlier, but I think if you do have the bench boost, the earlier you play it, the higher the risk you run that by the time 36 bench boost comes around, you might have a few players that are injured, you might have a few players that have lost their place, and as a result, you might be taking like a -8 or a -12 just to be able to sort of field a 15 players that can suit your bench boost. So for me, 34 looks good. 35 might be a little bit too late, but it does depend on if we get any doubles announced in 35 and also how my team looks for 34 following playing my free hit in 33, because that's my current plan. So I think either of those are fine. They're pretty close for me. Game week 33 would probably be my third option. Now, I know a lot of people may be looking to play it in 31. Like I said, I just think everyone's team will probably look decent for 31. Then for 32, I just don't see the value either. So really, I think maybe 33 would be the next best time. The reason 33 is pretty decent is a lot of the teams that have good fixtures in 33, like doubles, like Leicester, Arsenal, you might want for the remainder of the season anyway. And then Tottenham and Manchester City have decent single game week fixtures in game week 33 as well. So I think there's an opportunity to potentially load up on a really decent team for game week 33 and also have players that have good long-term fixtures as well. The only difficulty you might run into is players like maybe from Everton, just as an example, don't have the best fixtures in 33, but do probably have doubles in 36, maybe 35 and 37 as well. So you might have a little bit of a difficulty getting a really good team out for 33 and also a good team out for sort of 36 and 37. So I think you'd have to sacrifice slightly. And as a result, I probably, even if you don't have the free hit, I probably prefer the strategy of dead ending into 33, using transfers to try and field the best team and then wildcarding out of that in 34. But that's just my personal opinion on the wildcard. With respect to the free hits, I definitely think the best opportunity to free hit for me is game week 36. The fixtures look like they'll be very good. Looks like, like I said, I have at least sort of 9 or 10 teams doubling, and you can basically get 22 really good double game week players out. So for me, I still do think that the best opportunity to free hit is 36. The only issue you have with that, as we're going to discuss, if you have the bench boost and triple captaincy, it might be that you also want to play those chips in 36, and as a result, you have to decide which one you want to prioritize for that week. Outside of 36, I do still think that the second best opportunity to a free hit is 33. Now, I do think this is reasonably close with 37, but for me with 33, the thing that I like about it is it's likely to be a much bigger double than 37. I say likely because we don't know that 100%. I'm almost 100% certain, though, that it will be bigger just because there aren't enough fixtures to be rearranged into 37. So 33 is likely to be a bigger double than 37, and it's also likely to be a bigger blank as well with 3 teams blanking. I think we'll probably only get 1 team, if that, blanking in game week 37. So there are just sort of more fixtures to take advantage of. Yes, the fixtures aren't ideal in 33. A lot of the teams have sort of 1 good fixture, 1 bad fixture. But we saw in game week 29, the likes of Tottenham did very well in their sort of mixed double game week. Even some of the Arsenal players did very well as well. The likes of Lacazette, Kulusevski, some of these players, it doesn't necessarily matter. What you need to think is they've got 1 very good fixture, and then the extra fixture's a bonus. So, as an example, Manchester United in game week 33 playing Norwich and Liverpool. The Norwich fixture's excellent. You bring in Manchester United players because they've got good fixture there. And even if they only get sort of 2 or 3 points against Liverpool, that is just extra points to add on to hopefully a good score against Norwich. So I don't necessarily dislike game week 33 fixtures that much. And even if I did, double game week fixtures are often that way. And I do think there are teams such as Newcastle and Leicester who still have really good fixtures in game week 33. So for me, I still prefer the free hit in 33. We're going to discuss a free hit 33 draft later on in the video. 37 after that would be it for me. Outside of that, I don't really like any of the fixtures. Maybe game week 38, but for me, it would be 36, 33, 37. For the bench boost, we've got a very similar story of almost definitely pretty much the only time, not even the best one, pretty much the only time I would really want a bench boost is in game week 36. The reason for that is if you do wildcard just before, you could potentially get a bench boost with maybe 14 or 15 doublers in your team. And I just think that you're really sort of attacking the big double game week 36 in that way. Outside of game week 36, I've just sort of looked at my team and what my wildcard team might look like. 37 looks like it could be okay, depending on which teams double, depending on which teams have stuff to play for. 37 looks like it could be an okay bench boost. And then again, just my team, 35 looks like it could be okay as well. But if you're not bench boosting in 36, I think what you essentially will do is just look, when does my team look good? It's going to be very team dependent, the bench boost, and you're probably not going to get an optimal week to play it. So what you look for is, do you have a week where maybe 2 of your subs have really good fixtures and the rest of your subs actually play? You've got a playing goalkeeper, just play it that week, right? So if you're not going to play it in 36 because maybe you're free hitting in 36, I think you just look at your team, go onto FPL.team, plan ahead, and just look at each week, when does your bench look very good? And then triple captaincy is exactly the same as free hit. Right, so I think the best time to triple captain is probably 36. The reason I say that is I think Manchester City will have a pretty nice double in 36. They have the opportunity to, at least. It could be that you want to captain a Manchester City player if they're still fighting for the league. Maybe someone like Cancelo potentially, and also Liverpool look like they'll have a double in 36 as well. So you could potentially jump on and captain a Liverpool player, i.e. probably Salah, if they've still got, again, if they haven't lost the league or won the league by them for Liverpool. Then 33 for the same reason. I think maybe something like a Barnes or a Maddison could be very nice. Outside of that, you might want to go for like a Ronaldo or a Bruno Fernandes. Not sure how much we trust Manchester United players. And then 37, Chelsea would probably be the team. Looking at Chelsea's fixtures, they could have a very nice double. Can't remember exactly what it would be, but I think it has like Leeds in there, maybe Norwich in there. So 37 looks like it could be decent, but you are leaving that very late if you triple captain in 37. Like I said though, maybe just triple captain in 38. It'd be very fun sort of end to the season. All of the teams playing at once and your triple captain playing as well. So they're the best times to use it. Like I said, the big dilemma for you is if you have the free hit plus one of the bench boost and triple captaincy, specifically free hit and bench boost as I do, you've got a really tough decision there, because I think that both, like I said, free hit and bench boost, the best week to play them would be 36. As you can't do that, for me, I'm leaning still towards free hit 33, so sacrificing the best week to free hit slightly, but optimizing that bench boost. So I'm still currently on wildcard 34, free hit 33 and bench boost 36. But do let me know down below what your current chip strategy is. Let me know what chips you have remaining. Remember, this is the Raptor rankings. This is my personal opinion. There is no optimal week to play these chips. It's completely up to you. Depends on your strategy, depends on your team, depends on your risk appetite. But for me, these are the optimal times to play them. Right, so based on all of what we just said, I thought it would be interesting to look at teams to target from game week 31 to 36. For each team, if it is relevant, what I'll do is I'll just discuss their 37 and 38 fixture as well, and also any other fixtures they have to be rearranged to. The first thing to note, which is critical on this graphic, is that I've hypothesized and assumed what might potentially be their double game week in game week 36, and also for some of them maybe game week 35 and 37 as well. These are not confirmed. The only confirmed doubles that we have are 31 and 33. So please do bear that in mind. This graphic is not confirmed. And for those fixtures that aren't confirmed, I've got asterisks next to the fixtures. I've also separated these sort of teams into two groups. So the first group of 5 teams that we have are teams that I think have good short and long-term fixtures, brilliant underlying data, but might potentially be ignored because they don't have that many double game weeks. So I think it's important to not ignore these teams. And as a result, I want to draw your attention to them. And then the second set of teams, you can see those bottom 3 teams, they just have so many fixtures to be rearranged. So for each of these teams, they've each got 3 fixtures to be rearranged. Some of them have already been rearranged, but what that means is almost definitely each of these teams will have 3 double game weeks in the remaining 8 game weeks. So these are all teams to target for different reasons. We're going to go through each of them individually. What I've got is I'm also going to bring up the FPL site alongside me so we can discuss their extra fixtures to be rearranged and also their 37 and 38 fixtures as well. So the team that has been on every graphic that I've had since like game week 25, game week 26 is Arsenal. The reason for that is, number one, they look absolutely excellent. Their team seems to be fairly settled, and they just have a lot of fixtures to be rearranged as well because they had quite a few blanks earlier on in the season. So really nice fixtures for the remainder of the season for Arsenal. So if I just bring up the rest of their fixtures as well. So really nice fixtures for the remainder of the season. Game week 31, really nice immediate fixture against Palace. 32 against Brighton. Brighton haven't looked as good recently. Then a really nice double in 33. The Chelsea fixture is a bonus on top of the Southampton fixture. What I've done is I've also added in a potential double game week in 36. So Arsenal's only remaining double game week fixture is against Tottenham away. It's the North London derby. That could either be added to game week 36 or it could be added to game week 37. So at the time of recording this, we have no idea which one that will be. It will be added to 36 or 37. We assume 36 is slightly more likely, but it could be either. What that means is that Arsenal will essentially have 2 more double game weeks this season, which is pretty good considering the rest of their fixtures are all right anyway, and they're just a brilliant team. And in 37 and 38, they have Newcastle and Everton. So what I would say is get on Arsenal triple up and hold them for the remainder of the season. You get great fixtures. You get a team that are fighting for 4th, or at least trying to hold 4th, because I do think they are the most likely team to finish 4th. Could potentially push for 3rd, but very unlikely. So what I would do is I'd get Arsenal triple up, I'd hold Arsenal triple up, and be pretty safe in the knowledge that there'll be good options. Probably Ramsdale, Tierney, and Saka would be my ideal triple up. Maybe something like Ramsdale, Martinelli, and Saka if you want to go there. Tottenham, similar story to Arsenal, but they have 1 less double game weeks. They don't have that double in 33. And I'd say the fixtures are maybe slightly trickier. Newcastle look pretty decent recently. Villa and Brighton are fine. Brentford in 34 is great. 35 against Leicester. Leicester look a little bit better defensively, but they haven't been great. And then I've just added in that Arsenal fixture again, that North London derby. I've added it in 36, but if it's in 36, they'll just have it in 37 instead. So pretty decent fixtures for Tottenham. And then just to bring up their fixtures for sort of 37 and 38 as well. They have Burnley and Norwich in 37 and 38. So for the remainder of the season, again, you could quite easily be on a Tottenham triple up. That would be absolutely fine. If it does go into 36, that double for Tottenham really isn't that great. If it goes into 37, then it would be Burnley at home and Arsenal at home. That's a much better double game week. So I guess if you've got Tottenham players, you maybe prefer that North London derby to go into game week 37. Chelsea, exactly the same sort of story to Tottenham, but they have one extra fixture to be arranged. So if I just can bring up Chelsea's fixtures, don't actually have a Chelsea player up here. So if I just bring up Chelsea's fixtures here for 37 and 38, they're not as good. But right, let's focus for 31 to 35. They've got Brentford, Southampton, Arsenal, West Ham, and Everton. Right, so no double game weeks from 31 to 35, but pretty decent fixtures. I think they've pretty much got third secured. They could make a push for the title, but I think Chelsea are pretty safe in third, which does make it sort of, if they do win 31, 32, maybe 33, makes rotations slightly more likely, but I do still think they're a team that are worth targeting. They've also got two fixtures to be rearranged. They've got a fixture against Leicester and a fixture against Leeds to be rearranged. So what I think is most likely is the fixture against Leicester, just due to Leicester having so many fixtures, they want to get them done as soon as possible, will likely go into game week 36. So Chelsea could have a double game week against Wolves at home and Leicester at home. They've then still got a remaining fixture against Leeds to be rearranged. That would likely go into game week 37. So what we might have for Chelsea is a double game week 36 against Wolves and Leicester, and then a double game week 37 against Manchester United and Leeds. So again, if you're wildcarding 36, or even if you're free hitting 36 or 37, it could be that you want to bring in Chelsea players because they're likely to have two doubles, and then they finish on game week 38 against Watford. The only issue, like I said, you might have with Chelsea players is potential rotation. So Chelsea look like fantastic options as well. Manchester City in there, again, for a very similar reason here. They've got pretty good fixtures, and they're likely to have a double game week in 36 against Newcastle and Wolves. So I personally think that the thing that might set apart those that finish strong to those that won't finish strong is loading up on the likes of Chelsea and Man City, because I think a lot of people will see all the immediate fixtures for Burnley, for Leicester, ignore Chelsea and Manchester City players, and I think those that do well might be on like a triple up of maybe a triple up of Man City, maybe one or two Chelsea players, one or two Manchester United players, as we'll discuss in a second. I think targeting these teams that are good teams, good underlying data, great fixtures, and maybe a double added in there as well might be the optimal play here. So for me, in game week 34, I'll almost definitely be on a Manchester City triple up. I'm looking at Cancelo, I'm looking at De Bruyne, and then maybe one of like Foden, Gundogan, Diaz, Laporte, something like that to add in as well. Of course, you have to be very careful with Manchester City with rotation. I just think that they're going to be absolutely fantastic value. And I think Liverpool have done us a massive favour by Liverpool being so brilliant recently and sort of keeping this title race alive. Man City are going to have to continue to play their strongest 11. Yes, they've got the Champions League as well, but Pep's not going to neglect the Premier League as a result. And the likes of Cancelo, maybe Laporte and Diaz, definitely De Bruyne as well. They're going to be playing every game almost in the Premier League and the Champions League. And I think Pep's going to have to run these players into the ground. So Manchester City, for me, are probably top of the list of teams to target over the remainder of the season. Because I'm wildcarding in 34 and free hitting in 33, I'm probably going to go without Manchester City players for 31, 32, 33. And then in 34, I'm going to wildcard triple City in for Watford, Leeds, Newcastle, Wolves. It will just bring up their fixtures as well. They have pretty good fixtures in 37 and 38 as well. West Ham and Villa, right? So that's pretty good as well. So Manchester City, definitely worth looking at. Then the final of those five teams is Manchester United. Not the best fixtures, but what Manchester United do have is they are fighting for sort of fourth and fifth. I don't think fourth is realistic for Manchester United, but what I would say as well is Manchester United's underlying data is actually very strong from an attacking perspective in particular, but their defensive data isn't bad. I think there's almost a narrative against Manchester United that they're sort of the laughing stock, and I agree. I'm a Manchester United fan. We've been pretty terrible recently, but the underlying data suggests that potentially we've been quite unlucky, and I do think that not loading up necessarily, but having one or two Manchester United players might be worthwhile. And the next three fixtures that they've got, Leicester, Everton, and Norwich, are three brilliant fixtures. Add in Liverpool as a bonus. Arsenal in 34 isn't great, but then Brentford, Brighton, and bring up their fixtures for 37 and 38 as well, against Chelsea and Crystal Palace. It's a pretty decent set of fixtures. So the likes of maybe a Sancho, if you are free hitting in 33, I think something such as a Bruno or Ronaldo might be a good option as well. I think that it might be worthwhile having one or two Manchester United players as a result. I wouldn't go crazy maybe and go on the triple up though. So those are five teams, of course, five brilliant teams in the Premier League that I think are worth loading up on, whether you're using a transfers or potentially wildcarding as well. Of course, Liverpool would be top of the list as well, but for most of us, we already own Salah and Trent. Maybe you've already got a third Liverpool spot as well. Their fixtures aren't as good as the likes of City and Chelsea. So for me, a double up is fine. If you want to add a triple up, that's good. But for most of us, we own these players already. The third, sort of the final set of teams, the three teams at the bottom, basically just have tons of fixtures to be rearranged. So starting with Everton, they've got the double in 31, decent fixtures in 32 and 33, not great in 34. So that sort of middle section in and around their doubles isn't ideal for Everton. I've then got possible doubles for Everton in 35 and 36. The reason for that is they have two fixtures to be rearranged outside of 31, which is against Watford and Crystal Palace. Those two fixtures have to go somewhere. Now, it's almost definitely going to go probably in 36. It's that second one. Does it go into 35 or does it go into 37? Now, whether Palace and Watford will be in 35, 36 or 37 could be any of them. But I've just said, just as an example, they'll have a double in 35 against Chelsea and Watford, then a double in 36 against Leicester and Palace. Like I said, that could be in 37. But what that means with Everton is that they've got probably a double-double at some point, or at least two double game weeks in the space of 3 weeks in the back end of the season, in addition to a pretty good double in 31. So if you've got no chips left, or you've got limited chips left, probably worth getting at least one or two Everton players, something like a Gordon. If you want to go for like a Richarlison or a Calvert-Lewin, you can potentially do so. I wouldn't load up on them, but I think Gordon could be a fantastic eighth attacker as a result. Burnley, very similar story. Like I said, all of these teams have three fixtures to be rearranged, or at least they will have three double game weeks across the remainder of the season. Burnley have Man City and Everton, which isn't the best double game week in 31, but they do have a double in 33 and a good fixture in 32. So if you're looking to bring in players, if you bring in like a Weghorst, you get a double 31, Norwich 32, then a double in 33. Outside of that, they'll have a double in 36. Sorry, I forgot to add that one in there. So it'll be Aston Villa and I think it's Southampton they're fixed to be arranged. Let's just double check that for you. I will update that graphic when I post that to Twitter and Instagram. So in 36, it's Aston Villa. So that's why I didn't add that in. Right, so the graphic's fine. So their fixture to be rearranged is Aston Villa away. So the reason I haven't added that into 36 is they've already got Aston Villa at home. So I think the Premier League is unlikely to have them play Aston Villa at home and Aston Villa away in the same game week. So I think what is potentially more likely is that fixture will either go into 35, so they'll play Watford and then Villa, but then they would still play Watford, Villa in sort of the space of sort of three fixtures. So they could potentially put it in 37 and make it like Burnley's second fixture in 37. I guess that's slightly more likely. I'm not an expert with fixture rearrangements, but it is worth noting that Burnley have a fixture against Villa away to be rearranged somewhere in here. And that would give them three double game weeks as a result across the remainder of the season. So Burnley definitely worth loading up on as well. And then the final team is Leicester. So Leicester don't have the best immediate fixture in 31 against United, but it's still decent. 32 against Palace. Really nice, arguably the best double game week in 33 against Newcastle and Everton. They've then got a fixture in 34 against Villa, 35 against Tottenham. A decent fixture, double game week fixture against Chelsea added in there for 36. So Everton and Chelsea's all right, not too bad. And then they do have that final remaining fixture in game week 37, which will almost definitely be put into game week 37, which is against Norwich. So their game week 37 double could look like Watford and Norwich. So I think Leicester are arguably the team that if I was looking to load up on a team that had fixtures remaining, I would maybe look at Leicester as the team outside of Everton and Burnley, probably at the top of the list. So putting all of this together, I would say that the best team to target, just due to underlying data, due to things to play for, due to the fixtures as well, is probably Manchester City. And then the other team to target, just due to fixtures to be rearranged, is probably Leicester. So for me, if I were bringing in players at the moment, I'd be looking at maybe Manchester City players and Leicester players. But it does largely depend on your chip strategy, right? If you're potentially maybe got like 2 free hits left, and you're free hitting in 36, and you're free hitting in 33, you don't need to look at double game week 33 and double game week 36. So what you're actually looking at is a completely different thing. You're looking at those fixtures, those glue fixtures in between 33 and 36. So you might potentially be looking at players from like Crystal Palace or Watford who have really nice fixtures in and around 33 and 36. So it really does depend on your chip strategy. Let me know which teams you are looking to target. These are the teams for me that I would be targeting, but basically a lot of the teams have different good fixtures depending on when you're deploying those chips. But like I said, let me know down below if I've missed out any teams or players that you think you should be targeting for the back end of the season. So guys, let's discuss double game week 33. We've had the fixtures confirmed after the FA Cup results. We know which fixtures will be going ahead. There are 7 teams doubling and there are 3 teams blanking. So the 7 teams that are doubling are Brighton, Burnley, Leicester, Manchester United, Newcastle, Arsenal and Southampton. We of course had the first 5 confirmed anyway. We were just waiting for the confirmations to the other teams. It is Arsenal and Saints that will be doubling. Obviously the double that has been added is against themselves, against each other I should say. And then the 3 teams that will be blanking are Wolves, Leeds and Aston Villa. All right, so they are the confirmed double game week 33 fixtures. Just at first glance, I think Leicester is an absolutely lovely double there, Newcastle and Everton. I think Burnley's is absolutely fine against West Ham and the Saints. I think Leicester and Palace is fine as well. Right, I think that's a decent one. I think Arsenal and Saints, whilst they aren't the best doubles, I think each of them have an okay fixture. So Arsenal against Southampton is the good fixture for them. And then for Southampton, they've got a decent fixture against Burnley in there as well as the Arsenal one. So I don't mind this set of fixtures at all. And I do think a lot of the single game week players don't have the best fixtures, but a couple of them might be worth keeping in. So those are the confirmed fixtures. So what I thought would be interesting to do is just discuss, is the free hit still worth it? Right now that we've got the confirmed fixtures, it would have been lovely if, for example, Manchester City didn't progress in the FA Cup. As a result, they could have doubled in game week 33. That would have made it absolutely brilliant, a double game week for Manchester City. But it's less tempting now for some people, at least, knowing the fixtures that we've got. And some people are questioning, are there better times to play it in the future, which we've already discussed a little bit. But here are a few. This list is not exhaustive, just a few pros and cons to get you thinking about whether you think it's worth playing the free hit still. So the first pro is that it is a blank and a double game week. Right? Blanks and doubles are often good opportunities to play free hits because you can take out the Wolves, Leeds, Aston Villa players that you've already got. And for me, just as an example, I've got quite a few. I think I have 3 or 4 from those teams. And you can load up on doublers as well. So you can sort of kill 2 birds with one stone, sort out your team for 1 week, and then you get the players back that you would have otherwise taken out. The second is there's quite a few high upside attackers. So I do think that like the likes of Bruno, Barnes, Ward-Prowse, Maddison, I think these are all fantastic options. And I do think they all have high upside. Whilst the fixtures aren't brilliant for Bruno, whilst Ward-Prowse has one slightly trickier fixture against Arsenal, I still think these are the kind of attackers where you could see them go absolutely massive. Right? You don't need all of them to do so. You just need 1 or 2 of them to do so, and that will pay back the free hit and some. So I do still think there are a few decent upside attackers. I think the defense is slightly trickier, as we will discuss. Number 3 is outside of game week 36. This is likely the biggest double game week left. So it's not even sometimes as much as, is this an amazing game week to play it? Maybe not. But is, apart from game week 36, this probably the best week to play it? I would say so. So game week 36, like we said, is only likely to be 2 or 3 teams doubling. Could be as many as 4 or 5. Right? I do want to say it could be. I don't want people to be upset if game week 37 ends up being a pretty big double, but likely to be a slightly smaller double than 33. So I still think this is arguably the best opportunity outside of game week 36. And then by game week 37, sometimes it could go the other way, but sometimes teams may have nothing left to play for. So rotation, I've said, could render the free hit useless. It would never be useless, but you would want sort of to know that your players that you're bringing in are likely to start. In game week 33, so many teams still have stuff to play for that you would expect them to put out largely sort of first choice teams. So there are a few pros for game week 33. But of course, on this channel, I like to paint the full picture for you. Here are some cons, and I do think there are a lot of cons. For someone that is free hitting in 33, I'm happy to acknowledge there are definitely some cons associated with it. The fixtures aren't fantastic for many of the teams, similar to game week 29. So we've seen that can go well in the past when teams have one good fixture, one trickier fixture, but sometimes it can be a bit of a nightmare. If they blank in that game against the easier team, they've just got one tricky fixture left. So I would prefer to sort of free hit in a week where lots of the teams have really nice double game weeks. For example, game week 36 looks like it could be the case that maybe like 4 or 5 of the teams have really nice sort of sets of 2 fixtures. The second is if you only have one, the upside is probably lower than in game week 36, right? So if you've only got one free hit, but you don't have a bench boost either or a triple captaincy, so if you just have the free hit to play, I would argue that the upside is probably lower than 36. So for me, if you don't have the bench boost to play, I'd probably just play the free hit in 36. 3 is that you'll likely have triple Arsenal already. You're probably likely to have 1 or 2 from Leicester, Southampton or Newcastle. So if we just go back to this, I think most people will probably, because they're going to bring one in 31, probably have like Weghorst. They're probably going to have one of Maddison and Barnes, maybe let's say 2, maybe a Leicester player. You probably have 3 Arsenal players, maybe a Southampton player. Then you've got free transfers as well. So I would argue that you can probably get, with very little sort of going out of your way, you'd probably have maybe, I don't know, 7 or 8 double game week players. So that is something to consider as well, that you might be able to get close to the sort of team that you would want just through free transfers. So that's something to consider. The other point is that you'll probably want Leicester and Arsenal players beyond game week 33 anyway. So Leicester, of course, are likely to have a double in 36 and a double in 37. And Arsenal are probably going to have a double in either 36 or 37 with that North London derby being rearranged. And then good fixtures in 37 and 38. So if you just load up on these players rather than free hitting them in, you're going to want them long term anyway. So if you free hit in 33 and load up on triple Leicester, if you've not got a wild card in 34 and this does depend if you've got the wildcard. If you've not got the wildcard in 34, you're then going to need to bring Leicester players in anyway, so you might as well just do it for 33. Does that make sense? And then 5 is Leicester are playing in the Europa Conference League 2 days before Game Week 33, or they've got a 2-day break. I think they play on the Thursday and then they're playing on the Sunday in Game Week 33 in the first fixture. That is the second leg. I think it's against PSV. So that is the second leg. If they smash the first leg and they can rotate in the second leg, it might not be an issue. If the second leg maybe goes 90 or 120 minutes and Barnes and Maddison are playing a lot of minutes, I would worry about a little bit of rotation in Game Week 33, because the thing is with Leicester, they've got very little to play for. And unless they continue to smash it over 31, 32 and 33, they've probably got little to play for. I think they would rather focus on winning the Europa Conference League. So it might be that we see some rotation in that Leicester team, especially if Vardy's back, if Daka's back. If we've got Vardy, Iheanacho, Daka, Albrighton, Lookman, Barnes, Maddison, they've got quite a bit of sort of squad depth in their attack when everyone's fit. And as a result, I would worry slightly that you're going to free hit in 33 to mainly maybe target the likes of Barnes and Maddison, and they might miss out. So there are some pros and cons. It really does depend on your strategy. It depends on what other chips you've got available as well. The reason that I am still on free hit 33 is because I've got a wild card in 34. So I don't have to worry about, for example, that if I don't load up on Leicester players, I'm going to want to bring them back in anyway because I can wildcard in 34. And because I've got the bench boost, I just think the bench boost 36 could be really good with a wildcard just before it. So that's the reason I'm on 33. If I didn't have a wildcard and I didn't have a bench boost and I just had a free hit left, I'd free hit 36 for sure, in my opinion. And if you don't want to play it in 36, you play it in 37. I wouldn't use it in 33 because, like I said, I think you can get maybe close to what some of the free hit teams might look like. You won't be perfect because you won't have some of the players that I would want in a free hit, but you can get very close. With all that being said then, let's just finally take a quick look at a free hit. So this is, I've put this together very quickly, right? I would need to spend a lot more time, but it's just to sort of look at, does it look good? Is it something that we might want to do? And to be honest, yeah, I think it does look really good. Now, I'm still very happy to play it. So obviously we know the teams that are doubling in here. I've put it together relatively quickly, but a lot of these players would definitely be in there for me. So I think I would be on Barnes and Maddison. If there's any sort of worries from the Europa Conference League, I might put like a Dewsbury Hall in there. I might go for an Iheanacho or Vardy, depending on which players are fit. If Vardy is fit and firing, I'd love Vardy for Game Week 33. So it would really depend on sort of that rotation there. But I'd want sort of double, maybe triple Leicester. I've got Schmeichel in goal just for safety of starts. I think he could be good for the double game week. I've got Fernandes and Ronaldo. One of those could potentially be Sancho if I wanted to. Depends really which Man United players you want to go for, but I think it's definitely worth going for one or two. That Norwich fixture is great. The Liverpool fixture is a bonus. I have got Kane as my only single game week player in here. Of course, Liverpool playing against Manchester United now. I'm not sure where I've seen before that Salah playing against Manchester United could punish us. No, I don't think so. Obviously, we remember, right, Havertz in Game Week 9, not captaining Salah was a nightmare. Here, I wouldn't even own Salah. We've seen what he can do against Manchester United. I do think that was a freak incident. I think he did look better early on in the season. And I think I might risk going without him on the 33 free hit. I say that now. Salah could easily be in there for Fernandes if I wanted to. Could even go for De Bruyne. I can't remember who Manchester City actually have in 33, but could go for De Bruyne in there if I wanted to instead of Fernandes. So I could put another, maybe even Son alongside Kane. So various players that could go in there instead of Fernandes. Depends how much I want to play those single game week players. Outside of that, I'd probably still be on double up, maybe a triple up from Arsenal. You can see there at the moment I've got Tierney and Saka. I might want to go for Martinelli. Even the Newcastle players against Leicester and Crystal Palace, I think are fine in there as well. So this is a very sort of rough first draft. I haven't even got any Burnley players in there. That's just because I don't really fancy Burnley, particularly when there are other teams that are also doubling, but could potentially get a Weghorst or a me in there if I wanted to. So I still think the free hit for 33 does look very good. There are definite cons. You need to consider those cons in relation to your own team. If you can get close to a team like this with just free transfers, maybe you want to do that. But for me, now that I've still got wildcard, bench boost, and free hit, there are only so many game weeks left. And for me, I'm still planning, therefore, on free hit 33. The other reason is my team is not well set up. I don't have any Leicester players. I don't have any Newcastle players. Don't have any Manchester United players. Don't have any Southampton players. I have 3 or 4 players from Wolves, Leeds, and Aston Villa. I actually looked at my team for 33. It's a mess, right? And I do have a couple of free transfers now to sort that ready for 33. I wouldn't get close to this team personally with free transfers. I'd be having to take a lot of hits, and the fact that I have a free hit left means that for me, I'm definitely going to do it. So let me know down below. Has the fixture announcements changed your mind on the free hit? What chips have you got left? When are you going to play them? As always, really interested. Chip strategy is always a really interesting conversation. For me, still planning the free hit 33, still planning the wildcard 34/35, and still planning the bench boost for 36. Just to finish up, I thought we could talk a bit about psychology and how it might help us for the remainder of the season. I haven't done many Psychology 101 videos just because the content has to come so thick and fast with all of the doubles and blanks and everything coming up, strategy videos. There hasn't been much of a chance. I do have a very exciting series planned for next year where basically I'm going to be interviewing some of the top managers with the best sort of histories, maybe different YouTubers as well, from a psychological perspective. So I'm going to be giving them some questionnaires, giving them some different interview questions to try and understand what makes them tick and why they make the decisions they do, because there are some very different management styles out there from some of the top managers, and I think it'd be a very interesting series, sort of a slightly different take on like the Meet the Manager series that you usually see. So I'm going to do more psychology videos next year for sure. That series will be really exciting, but for now, just thought we'd chat a little bit about it. So the first tip is just be aware of narrative bias. Now, we love basically narrative bias. If you've not watched my channel before, it's the idea that we as human beings like to see the world through stories. So it is quite comforting. Sometimes it can sort of reduce the negative effects like mental health, like depression, anxiety. Telling the world through stories makes us feel that is a predictable world, right? That we can predict what's going to happen. This always happens. When Kane plays against Leicester, he always scores, right? And some of these things do hold some value, but sometimes we get a little bit swept along in football with narratives. And I just think we need to be careful. And the most common one is that this team is on the beach, right? I think it was Who Got the Assist, Tom, that coined that phrase. A team being on the beach essentially means they've got nothing left to play for. And as a result, they stop putting effort in. Now, a lot of the time, and quite often that is the case, but sometimes we can get swept along with, oh, this team's got nothing to play for. Yes, they've got fantastic fixtures, but because they're sat in 8th and they can't get a Europa Conference League as a result, I think I'm not going to go for that team. I just think that we need to be a little bit careful with those sorts of narratives. Try and look at instead underlying data. Try and look at the way that the team's been performing. And to be honest, sometimes having nothing to play for might remove the potential stress, the potential anxiety of performing well for their fans, and they might actually sort of lift their confidence. A lot of players perform well when there is no pressure, so there's something to be said there. That's just one of the many narratives, but I would just say you'll start to see a lot of narratives popping up over the coming game weeks. Just be aware of the narrative bias. Tip 2 is you only have 7 free transfers left, potentially 8 for some of you. Do not succumb, and that's if you're not playing any chips, by the way, I should say. If you're playing chips, you might have something like 3 or 4 free transfers left. Don't succumb to FOMO. Each decision needs to be well executed. Of course, you can take hits as well, but when you consider you've only got a limited number of free transfers, using a free transfer because you're scared a player might do well, rather than you thinking that that player suits your chip strategy and your team, is probably that. I mean, that should never be the case, but especially at the back end of the season, just be aware that you've probably only got a few transfers left. Make them count, right? And that sort of links onto tip 3, which is try to be as emotionless as possible with assets. So earlier on in the season, I think it's absolutely fine saying, I brought this player in, I'm going to give them a few weeks, I'm going to trust them. The underlying data doesn't support it, but I'm going to give them a little bit more time. I don't think you can necessarily afford to do that when there's so few game weeks left. So there are 2 well-known sort of psychological theories, biases known as the endowment effect and the mere ownership effect. These essentially say that when we own an asset or we've invested in an asset, we tend to value it more highly than other people would. So sometimes if you've brought in a player and you've got value tied up in them, or potentially you've owned them since game week 16 and they've only just started performing well now, or they performed well in the past, sometimes we can get a little bit caught up in their sort of your asset and you want to hold on to them. Try not to do that for the final few game weeks. Earlier on in the season, it's less of an issue. You've got so many game weeks to make up the rank that you want to. Now, again, you need to be as emotionless as possible. You need to execute those decisions as well as possible. If there's a player that's stinking up your team and you can get rid of them, even if you lose a bit of value, it's probably worth doing. It's probably worth biting the bullet if you think that's the sensible decision to make. Tip 4 is to go big on the teams you think will do well. I think this is something to sort of have across the entirety of the season, but specifically when there's so few game weeks left. If you think Manchester City are going to demolish the next sort of 8 game weeks, bring in Triple City. That is not an issue. Again, we're talking about diversification bias here, which is the natural tendency to want to avoid putting all of our eggs in one basket, which is fine in like finance and investment. But in FPL, sometimes it might make sense to sort of put all of your eggs in one basket and go one way. I'm not necessarily saying you should go for a triple up of a defense, but if you want to double or triple up on a team that you think will do well, that have a lot of fixtures to be played, it's probably worth doing. For example, I've tripled up recently on Arsenal and Tottenham, and that has gone incredibly well. Doubled up on the Tottenham attack. Kane and Kulusevski did very well. Doubled up on the Arsenal attack. Again, Lacazette and Saka have done very well as well. So I think it's definitely worth doubling up, tripling up. Don't be scared of diversifying. Don't succumb to diversification bias, I should say. And then tip 5 is it is absolutely critical that you realize the level of sort of luck and variance in FPL. This is more associated with sort of the mental health and not beating yourself up, but you really should not hold yourself accountable for poor outcomes, assuming you made the correct decision. Remember, that is outcome bias, that is hindsight bias. In FPL, all we can do is make the optimal decision that we possibly can at the start of the game week. And as soon as we've submitted our team, as soon as that error page comes up, you've got your score. There is nothing you can do from when you submit your team to the end of the game week. So all you can do is put the best team forward each week, make sensible decisions, play your chips at the time that makes sense for you, and hope that the FPL gods are on your side. Hope that the outcome is the one that you want. So those are 5 tips for you. If you have any other tips from a psychological perspective, do let me know down below. I could have gone for a whole video on the psychology of sort of the end of the season, but they're sort of top 5 tips for me. Just try and enjoy the remainder of the season. Try and make the decisions that, number one, make sense and are as logical as possible, but also bring the most enjoyment from the game. If saving the triple caps in game week until game week 38 makes you enjoy the game, then do that. I think enjoying the game, it should be at the sort of forefront of all of our thinking throughout the season, but specifically at the end of the season as well. So guys, before we end today's video, I just want to give a massive shout out to the Raptor Hall of Fame, the legends that continue to support this channel. I just wanted to also note that I have created a Patreon. Now, this isn't just another money grabbing technique. Essentially, it's exactly the same as the YouTube membership, but I had 2 people message me from different countries that they couldn't actually join the YouTube membership because it wasn't allowed in their country, it wasn't enabled. So I know that Google and YouTube are looking into that, but for some people, they still can't join via YouTube memberships. And also some people just had difficulties with payments not reoccurring, etc. So for those of you that have had difficulties, or you just prefer to do it over probably a slightly slicker website, you can go to patreon.com/FPLRaptor, and it's exactly the same prices there. You've got the sort of the £2.99 or £3 membership for Rap Tier 2, and you've got the £5 membership for Rap Tier 1. Basically, I advise joining the Rap Tier 1 because it's only slightly more. However, the reason that I think it's so fantastic is that you've got joining our Rap Tier 1 mini league, which is obviously a great reason to do that. You join a mini league, compete. You also get personalized feedback on your team from me whenever you want me to. So if you want that sort of one-on-one contact, you've got that as well. And you're also added into our Discord chat, where you can see all of those Rap Tier 1 members. We're in that Discord chat, and we're constantly helping each other. So if you want sort of personalized advice, you want to chat with like-minded FPL individuals, you can join the Rap Tier 1 premium. It's £5 a month, which is like basically 1 alcoholic drink a month. If you do go out and drink regularly, that's how much it is a month. I think it's definitely worth doing, but like I said, I would never sort of pressure you to do it. The content will remain free. For those of you that have got absolutely no desire to support the channel, you do not have to at all. Just as long as you continue watching, continue dropping likes on the video, that's enough. But massive shout out to the Raptor Hall of Fame. You can see both of those links, either to become a YouTube member or to join the Patreon, down below in the description. But thank you to those of you that have joined. We're actually at 76 members now. So massive shout out to all of you. I appreciate you so, so very much. So guys, there you have it. That is my sort of end of season ultimate guide. Hopefully this will enable you to navigate the back end of the season to the best of your ability. Hopefully you have fun with it. Hopefully the chips that you have saved, if you have saved any, go very well. If you've used all your chips but you're at a pretty good rank, hopefully you manage to maintain that rank and just navigate with free transfers. The teams to target section should be very useful for those of you that are in that position. The next couple of videos will just be back to normal now. We'll have a Game Week 31 preview video where I'll talk about specifically which players I'll be targeting for Game Week 31 and some other questions that you have there. We're also going to have my team selection video for Game Week 31, what I currently plan on doing with my 2 free transfers. And I think we should still have a live stream. I am unavailable for the deadline live stream, but I'll try and fit a live stream in elsewhere. If you're enjoying the content here on this channel, please do remember to like, comment, and subscribe. But until next time, guys, thank you so much for watching. Cheers. Bye-bye.